to the regular day. It should be there should be at least another 3-4 guys here. Hopefully we'll start, and if we start, then what's going to happen is that these people will come during the class. They'll hear the class. They'll be attracted by the vibration of holiness coming out of this place. All right? Anyways, we finished the quote already yesterday, which began in Tanu Rabbanon and went all the way till the next page on to Mechadish HaChamra. We even did a synopsis of the Gemara. We even learned the Tosfos. The question is what should we do now? And I think the answer should be we should go through every single Rashbam. The Rashbam is kind of the substitute for Rashi. As we've said in the past, that Rashi, unfortunately, did not comment on every single Gemara completely. In certain Gemaras, there is no Rashi. In this particular Gemara, even though there are a few Rashis, but the Rashbam felt that his teacher, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, did not complete his work, and therefore he tried to complete it. The only thing is, the Rashbam was a student of Rashi. Literally, he was a student of Rashi. Yeah, and he felt bad that his teacher's legacy.
What was Rashi 11?
I don't remember offhand, but it was the 1200s in that general time. Who?
Rashbam?
I believe the Rashbam is quoted in Tosfos. We've seen the Rashbam quoted in Tosfos. The only question is the Rambam Bali Tosfos? Who labeled Bali Tosfos? Bali Tosfos, anybody that was mentioned in the Tosfos, even Rashi could be considered a Bali Tosfos, because they quote him a lot. They discuss his ideas. And since they discuss Rashi's ideas in the Tosfos, you might want to argue he's in a Bali Tosfos. Who is there an official rule? I don't know. There's an official rule of what makes a Baal Tosfos a Baal Tosfos. I've never seen a rule. If anybody has, please share it with me. All right, Mendel?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good. Anyways, so let's get back to what we're saying. Rashi tried to make a commentary on the entire Talmud. His student, the Rashbam, realized that he did not complete this commentary, and therefore the Rashbam tried to substitute in for his teacher and complete the parts that he did not. Now, Rashi was extremely talented in telling you exactly what you need to know in very few words. He was extremely precise, both in the fact that he used very little words and in the fact that those very few words gave you the information that you need to know. And that's why Rashi is very small. However, the Rashbam, he wasn't as good as Rashi at getting to the point very quickly, right? What's a bruch? Huh? Anybody know what a bruch is?
How you spell it?
What's the
I
concept?
don't know. It said shalom abruch. I don't know. Maybe it's like chazaku baruch. Bruch. Maybe it should be. I'm not sure. Anyway.
Peace and blessings.
Huh?
Peace and blessings.
We what?
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Can I know how to? Okay.
Wait, but also it's a whole different style.
Anyway, let's get back to understanding. The Rashbam tried to complete the legacy of Rashi. Wherever he felt Rashi did not complete the commentary, he commented. However, he wasn't as good as being precise like Rashi, and therefore you always will see that his explanations are longer than everyone else. All right? Now, the first Rashbam on this week's Gemara, it begins Hachi Garsinon, which is in the medium lines on 106A. The medium line, it starts Lahakbid, and right after there is Hachi Garsinon. Hachi Garsinon this is the version that is correct. Now, as I've explained in the past, the Gemara was written and printed many times throughout history, and there were confusion as to what the versions were. You even see recently in the Rambam was mentioning various different versions of the Talmud, and he said, I went and found some of the ancient Talmud that were written like on scrolls, not in printing, but in actual like scrolls, and this is the original version. And even then, even when they were originally written in scrolls, there were confusion as to the versions. Yeah, what? I think it was a day or two in halacha. There was, I don't remember what it was regarding, but it was when we were learning in 3 prakim a day. It was within the last few days that he mentioned this. He mentioned that I went and I searched and I think he found in Egypt somewhere these old Talmudic scrolls that basically confirmed, at least in his mind, what the original precise or correct version was.
How would it ever get from Babylon to Egypt?
Huh?
How would the scrolls get from Babylon to Egypt?
Well, it was Jews that traveled all the time. Jews were traveling. What are you talking about?
It's territory in Mitzrayim.
Yeah, well, the Rambam lived in Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was born in Spain and lived in Mitzrayim. And by the way,
He wrote every single letter he signed, I'm committing a sin by living here.
Yeah, but guess what? There was a massive Jewish community in Egypt. Yes, as a matter of fact, till today in Cairo, there's a massive synagogue. The government of Egypt even finds it so significant that they paid money to help renovate it, that it should look nice. Yeah, but there was a massive, massive Jewish community in Egypt. Yeah, 100%. I think I put this here, because, yeah, anyways. Good. So, the Rashbam starts by saying, Hachi Garsinin, which means this is the version. So, apparently there were other versions of the Gemara, and the Rashbam wants to weigh in what he thinks is the legitimate version of the Gemara, etc. What's the matter? Huh? Oh, it's okay. Good. Tanu Rabbanan. So he says, Hachi Garsinan, this is the verse of the Gemara. Tani Rabbanan. The rabbis taught, Zochros Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshu, remember the day of Sabbath to make it holy. Zeichreu ala yayin, you must remember it on wine. Okay, which means you have to make a remembrance, a declaration of Shabbat while holding a cup of wine. Ein liyela b'yoim. This seems only to indicate that you should make the declaration, the proclamation during the day. Balayla minayan. How do we know that this applies to the night as well? Talmud loimer. Therefore, the verse teaches you Zochros Yom HaShabbos. Remember the day of Shabbos. Yeah. Now again, it seems like we're telling you, we're repeating ourselves. Yeah. It seems like we're repeating ourselves over here, because we just said that we know that you have to say Kiddush during the day because it says Zochros Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshu. How do you know by night? Because it says Zochros Yom HaShabbos. Right? How does that work? So he says, Balayla minayin. How do we know from here that you do it at night? Adarabba. So the Gemara answers, on the contrary, Ikur Kiddusha Balayla hu. The main time to make Kiddush is Friday night, not Shabbos day. Why? Because when the day, when ki kadosh yoima, you see the same word kadosh kadosh. When the day, you think it means when the day becomes holy, but the word kadosh, in fact, does not mean divine. Even though today many Jews use this as divine, but the word kadosh doesn't mean divine. The word kadosh really means separated. Right? And we call God separated or be, it's in English you might say beyond. Right? He's beyond us, which means he's not within our reality. He's separated from our reality. And that is actually the true meaning of the Hebrew word kadosh, which people translate as holy. It really comes from that original concept. All right? Baruch Hashem. Let's continue. Now, you see the word ki kodesh hayoim, you would think it means the day becomes holy, but no, it's when the day separated, which means when Friday separates from Shabbat, that's when you need to make the declaration for Shabbat. Right? It's the same word, ki kodesh hayoim, ki kodesh yoima, boi li kiddushi, vetu balayla minayin. And how do you know this? Talmud loimer Zochros Yom HaShabbos. So then the Gemara asks, we're trying to prove night, and we're bringing a verse that says the day. So it says, Hachi Kamar, now we switch it, right? Now, the Rashbam, he explains the word lekadeshoy to make it holy. Now here is an instance where I tell my students all the time, and I'll tell you guys online as well, it's very important to understand this, that you can only understand the Talmud properly when you understand it in its original language. If you fail to understand it in its original language, you will not be able to understand Talmud. And here is an instance, right, where I see a bunch of people here that even though you've used Jewish lingo, if you don't understand the root source of that word kadosh, you misunderstand this whole Gemara, right? Because again, Rashbam is saying that the word lekadeshoy to makes it holy, masma b'shosam is kadesh hayoyim, in the time that the day separates, right? Means the time that Saturday separates from Friday. At that point, you should be mekadeshoy as well. So you should essentially declare Shabbos Shabbos as soon as Shabbos separates from Friday. I'm very impressed that people are sitting in my class and they just prefer to watch me on their phones. Huh? It keeps your attention, you know. I wouldn't even consider a thought that you were watching anything other than my share on your phone. That's good. I wouldn't even think of such a thing. Yes, anyways, you know, phones. Yeah, that's definitely phony. Anyways, okay. Yeah. Look, come on, okay, let's deal with that. Let's leave that. The next Rashbam says, Hochik Omar, this is what it says. Huh?
What did Rashbam add by saying this version?
By which version?
That he says, instead of the Gemara version.
So it seems to me that his version is similar to the one that we have in our Gemara. That's not always the case, by the way. Sometimes Rashi or Rashbam or the Tosfos will mention that the version of their Gemara is different than the version of the Gemara we have. Here, I think the Rashbam has a similar one. Is there any difference? Have you looked through, you found a difference? There's one word difference. All right. Doesn't make any substantial change?
I couldn't see that. I didn't understand why Rashbam would add that.
Yeah. Why Rashbam would add what?
That this is the right version and not bring in the other version.
Because the Rashbam didn't know what version they were going to print 300 years later in Vilna.
No, every time that we have the Gemara, or until now, obviously not the Gemara.
Yeah.
But if our actual Gemara is the same as that, they'll bring in the other version.
Why should they bring in the other version?
It's the same, what the other version could be.
Let's understand. There are very often differences in versions of prints, right? You see this in many different books. As a matter of fact, the biggest miracle, Yosef Zohar, the biggest miracle in the Jewish people is the fact that the original Torah, the 5 books of Moses, what they call the Pentateuch, there is no major differences of versions, even though the Jews have been spread from as far as Yemen all the way up to Russia. We all have the same Torah. There are a few small letter differences. There's one letter, but it doesn't even change the meaning of the word. Right?
What's the letter?
What's that?
What's the letter?
It's a final aleph or a final hey, which doesn't really change the meaning of the word.
That's the only argument in the entire Torah.
Apparently, there are some smaller ones where there's an ain with a yud or ain without a yud. Yeah. If I read the Torah,
say the right meaning with the wrong word, is it kosher or illegal?
you have to say the right word when you're reading the Torah. What?
Make a mistake when you do it.
We're focusing on the Gemara. I'm trying to explain to you that one of the biggest miracles in the Jewish people is that with the Torah there is no major differences in version, right? And the reason for this is that you are obligated by Torah law that if you're going to write a Torah, you need to write it from a script, right? You're not allowed to write it by heart. However, the Tanaic teachings, the Mishnah, as well as the Talmud, you were potentially allowed to learn it by heart and then write it by heart. Now, because of that, there were very often little differences that sometimes turned into bigger differences. And we see this concept all the way back to the time of the Mishnah, right? Even in the time of the Mishnah, there were differences in versions within the Tanaic era. There are differences of versions of, there's an argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir what the argument of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel was. They argue on what the argument was, which means that essentially one says this was the right version and the other one says that was the right version, right? And we see this a lot throughout the Talmudic teachings, is you must consider the possibility of false versions, right? Welcome to today. One of the biggest problems today with society is you hear something and you think it's fact, right? Oh, CNN told it to you. So what kind of question?
Yeah,
they said it and it's fact.
Yeah, they'll come tell you, did the Nazi salute.
That's
You
it.
gotta believe them.
That's it. You gotta believe them. So, they said it, didn't they, right? No, but it's a problem in society. When you learn Talmud, you learn that there's possibilities of different versions. Not necessarily even lies. We're not talking about fabrications. There could be an innocent mistake, printing mistake, a typo. There's no way to know what exactly that mistake was. Right? So Hachika Amar. Where's the Hachika Amar? Where's the Hachika Amar here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hachika Amar is where the Gemara is telling you how we in fact learn out these rules. Hachika Amar, this is what it's saying. Afal gab de ein lefarish lashon hashinui bebraisa be'inyan zeh, even though we don't need to explain the change of the wording in the brisa in this way, ela al yedei she'anu misarsin oisa limafreya, unless we destroy it retroactively, which kind of exactly what we're saying. We're saying that there's a different version. We're not saying that there's something missing. Now, generally, there's a set of preferences in the Talmudic era. We would prefer to say that there is missing words. We would prefer to say that whatever we have is true, meaning the information that we have is true, and we would like to admit the least possible mistakes. Okay? We're always going to look at a situation. If we're going to determine that there's mistakes in this version, we must analyze the least possible mistakes. And therefore, there are various ways of determining mistakes. We can determine a mistake by the fact to say, oh, well, if you just put this one word in, then the whole thing is fixed. Okay, so one word's gone. There are times where we say there's an entire missing passage, right? There's an entire missing passage that says something completely different, and that's why it looks like there's missing information here. Rashbam is essentially saying, what is he saying here? He's saying that there was an option to say there's an entire missing passage here, but we'd prefer to reorganize our understanding of this passage, or reorganize a word here or there, than to say there's an entire missing passage. Right, which means we switched around the order that it seemed to be taught. Yeah, instead of saying we only have by the night, well, how do we know during the day? Right? The person that was transmitting this information made a little bit of a mistake, Vishana, and he switched a little bit. So you see here, we're just saying that the words of the Bryce are 100% accurate, just that he switched around the order of things. That is preferred than to say there's missing information. Right? Now, remember, All this information was transferred by memory from what we call a Tana, especially that this is a Brisa, right? A Tana, what's a Tana?
Tanaic sage who precedes the...
You say a Tanaic sage, right? Yeah. What's a Tana? You don't know. Okay. So what did you want to say?
I was going to ask if all the information is inside there, whether they have it, what does it matter the order of all the information is in there?
Again, let's first understand what a Tana is. Once we understand what a Tana is, we're going to understand that. All right? Now, the answer is, you know what a Tana is?
A Tana?
A Tana, yeah.
Is it Tanoim? Is that what you're
So that's what he
referring to?
said.
Oh, it's probably a quote from it tonight.
The answer is, as most of the questions that I ask in this class, depends. You're like, well, Tana's a Tana, depends. Let me tell you something, Mendel. You're new over here, and I want to tell you that chances are, if you answer my question, it depends, you at least started out right. Meaning I might ask you, okay, it depends on what, but it's usually correct if you say it depends. Now the word Tana, it also depends on what you're talking about, because a Tana could be referring to somebody from the Tanaic era, which was a period that lasted till about 200 years after the destruction of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem.
The second?
And there is a possibility that the word Tana could be referring to a particular profession in the Amoraic era. You'd say, well, why are they calling somebody from the Amoraic era a Tana?
Oh.
Right? But there are people from the Amoraic era that are called a Tana. Tana was a very particular position in the community, a profession. The word Tana used as an Amoraic era sage, the word Tana is referring to a person who would memorize word for word every single Tanaic teaching that he could. Right? Now, they would memorize the entire Mishnah, but not only would they memorize the entire Mishnah, they would memorize Brisas, which means other teachings of the Tanaic era. They used to learn them in details, right? Yeah?
Hearing what you're saying.
Now, the job of the Tana was very often the great sage that we quote in Gemara. The great sage very often did not know these verses word for word. We say they heard them at one point and they considered them and they understood them, but they not necessarily remember them word for word. So they used to have, when a rabbi used to give a class, next to him used to be a guy called the Tana. And the Tana was a person who used to share a Tanaic quote word for word. Now, these Tanas were very accurate in what they said, right? However, sometimes the Amoraic sage says, listen, I'm analyzing these words together compared to other things, and it doesn't make sense, and therefore it could be that you misunderstood, or it could be that you missed some words, you changed some words, or something like that. However, these Tanas were somewhat trustworthy. They were trustworthy. So if they said a quote from the Tanaic era, we would assume it's true until proven otherwise. Now, what do you mean especially? I don't get where the especially. Correct. But over here the Gemara is analyzing it, so obviously we are saying something. They're noticing that there's a mistake here in this quote. There's a mistake, right? Now, what are our choices? We can say that the mistake is. What are our choices? We can say that, listen, the Tana really remembered every single word by heart, but he switched around two cases. He said the first case second and the second case first, and because of that, the whole thing seemed not to make sense. That's a very, how should I say it, very innocent error to make. It's not completely innocent, but it's an easier error to make than to miss an entire verse or entire phrase or whatever it is. You understand? And that's essentially what the Rashbam is saying over here. The Rashbam is saying that we had a choice. We could have said that there's an entire missing piece of information that the Tana skipped. But we prefer not to say that he's missing information, rather to say that he made a little mistake and switched a little thing around. And you will see this in general. Anybody who is worthy of their authority in the Talmud is accepted as true until proven otherwise. Right? Again, if somebody is trustworthy, if somebody is reliable, you rely on him until you prove otherwise. Yeah. I've actually dealt with this a lot in Jewish philosophy. I don't want to get too into Jewish philosophy, but it's important because the Talmud philosophy teaches you Jewish philosophy, and Jewish philosophy teaches you the Talmud. Right? So it's very important to connect the two. Right? Somebody asked me, we know that Abraham went and challenged his parents' belief. Right? His parents believed in idols. His country believed in idols. His people, everybody believed in idols. Came Abraham and he challenged them. So somebody asked me, said, well, why can't I do this now too? I'll come and challenge the Torah. I'll come challenge other things. Now, if you pay clear attention to the story of Abraham, Abraham didn't just rock up and say, I'm going to challenge you, I'm going to take you apart, I'm going to look for reasons that you're wrong. No. As a matter of fact, Abraham followed the way of his forefathers. And only once he realized that there were sincere and severe cracks in their belief did he say, something's wrong here. Right? Now, the same thing, if you're given a path, who gave it to you? Who put you in that situation? God. Now, God put you in that situation for one of two reasons. Reason number one is he wanted you to follow it. Reason number two is he wanted you to realize that it's a mistake and go. Now, if you're following it and everything seems good, well then that seems to tell you that that's what God wants you to do, right? If you're following it and you're finding cracks in it, well then yeah, you got to research what are these cracks. And even in the Torah, if a student comes to ask a question, right, then you have to deal with their question, right? There's no such thing as let me just close my brain, right? Many religions, you know what they want you to do? They want you to cut your head off, take your head, and hand it over to the priest or whoever it is. Here, take my head and my brains, and here you go. I don't need to think anymore. Some people like that, by the way. They're like that. No, now I don't have to worry. I don't have to feel guilty. I cut my head off. I handed it to the priest, and now I'm done. Zel.
Blind faith is what they, right? Isn't that the terminology? Blind faith.
I would call it blinding faith.
Religiosity.
Right? Faith that blinds you. Right? Blinding faith. I know they call it blind faith. I call it blinding faith. Right? Because it blinds you. Blinds you. You're like, I don't have to think anymore. There. God gave me a brain for me to dump it in the garbage. Does that make any sense? No. I don't think so. Maybe you do. Huh?
Depends on the brain.
Depends on the brain? Saying if somebody has a stupid brain, they should just dump it in the garbage.
No, I'm just saying that's apparently sometimes that's what happens.
That what?
Apparently sometimes brains get dumped in the garbage.
Yeah?
They give it to somebody else. That's all.
Yeah, but that's stupid.
Exactly.
Don't give your brain to somebody else. Now, in the Torah, that's the way it is. You know, if you see it, it makes sense, go with it. If it doesn't make sense, now you can challenge it. Yeah? Makes sense? Good. As a matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I told this story, but when I was in Australia, there was a individual. His name is Shmar Yahu.
Of course I know.
You know Shmar Yahu?
One of my dearest friends.
Oh, Shmar Yahu. So Shmar
Our
Yahu.
friend who sings, right? Also, he's
Shmar Yahu.
yeah.
Shmar Yahu.
Of course.
Not Matis Yahu.
I know Shmayahu.
Shmar Yahu.
He's a.
Huh?
That's not real.
What's not real?
His name was Shmar Yahu. That's not real.
He's a real guy.
That's not real.
Why is it not real?
Wait, sorry, he's
Not real.
Yeah, his name's Shmar
His name
Yahu.
is Shmar Yahu.
Yeah.
He's not Caucasian, is that correct?
Anyways,
Oy, oy, oy.
Shmar Yahu tells the story. He tells the story. He tells a story that he was raised in the Bible Belt. Mm-hmm. He was raised in the Bible Belt in America, and they all do Bible and Bible and Bible. Everything's Bible, right? That's why they have Bible Belt, right? Anyways, this guy, he went to his Bible class, and as they're teaching, he had a question. And he raised his hand and he says, I have a question. And the guy yelled at him and says, what do you mean, you're questioning the Bible? What's wrong with you? Get out of my class, you don't belong here, you blasphemer, bam. It's like, but it's an innocent question, I just want to ask the question. Out of here, sei gesund, get out. He says, forget about it, I'm not going to this church anymore, Zel. He goes to another church and he goes to their Bible lesson. And sure enough, he has a question. He was a Shmaryahu, so he had a question, you know. So he asked this question, and whoever was giving the Bible lesson said, excuse me, you're questioning the Bible? Get out of here, kick them out. Go away. Right? It was very sad. He said, well, I had a question, innocent question. I want to know the answer. No, they don't want to tell me. All right. So he thought maybe he has to get a little bit more exciting in his venture into understanding the Bible. He says he's going to try, the only people he never tried before was the Jews. He's going to go to the Jews. Okay, he's going to go to the Jews. He looks up his local, I think it was a Chabad rabbi or whatever it was, local Jewish place. He says, you have a lesson in the Bible? Yes, we have a lesson in the Bible. Come. And he comes. Now, just to give you a bit of a description of this guy, if you'd meet this guy in a dark alley, you'd run. Okay, this guy's like 6'4", super wide shoulders, and black. Right? Not to sound racist, but that's pretty scary when you see a guy that looks like. You ever heard of a guy called Kimbo Slice?
Yeah. Okay.
He
now
looks.
you're getting carried
He
away.
looks like Kimbo Slice. I'm serious.
A little bit, but he's not.
He does look.
He's not
Big guy. You meet him, big
he's a
guy.
big guy.
You know, can you imagine a Chabad house rabbi sitting there, and he's starting his Bible lesson, and in walks this big guy, and the rabbi was nice. He was polite. He said, "Sit down," right? Sit down, and sure enough, they go and the lesson's happening, and sure enough, Shmaryahu has a question. Well, look at Shmaryahu, see if you can find it. Find
You're very
Shmaryahu.
happy to look like that. Sorry.
Look up Shmaryahu. Look, you might find him there. Anyways, sure enough, Shmaryahu has a question. He raises his hand and he asked the question. And you know what the rabbi said? Good question. And he said right there and then, he said he's coming Jewish. So he's converting to Judaism. That's it.
And the whole family.
And because a lot of his family came along, but that is what decided that he should become Jewish. The very fact that they recognize his right to ask a question. That's why he became Jewish. Now the funny thing is that after he became Jewish, he found out that his mother's mother was Jewish.
Wow.
And she married a black guy, and everybody from that point down was black, and that's why he doesn't look an ounce of Jewish, trust me. You wouldn't think. Besides for the fact that right now that he's Jewish, he has a big beard and a big smile. That's how you know he's Jewish. He's a big smile. He's a very, yeah. Look him up. Shmaryahu, Sydney, Australia. Maybe you'll find him. He sings. He sings Jewish gospel music. I mean, it sounds like an oxymoron, but he was raised with this gospel music. So he sings it. You could look him up. Right? Very inspiring story. But the reason I'm not in some, some of the details of, huh? Yeah, you found him? Yeah, that's him. There you go. Shmaryahu, he's a real guy. What would you think if you met him in a dark alley in Brooklyn, you know?
If you have his number, you can send him an invite.
You have his number? Huh? He sings Jewish songs. He's Jewish. He became Jewish. And he sings gospel style Jewish music.
That's right.
You could look him up. Anyways, good. Huh? You saw a picture of him?
Sorry, you're good.
Anyways, good. Huh? Shmaryahu. Huh? What? Yeah, well now, if he had a hat and a beard and a smile, if he had his hat and a beard and a smile, but if he put a good frown and took off his Hasidic hat, you'd be like, uh-oh, I'm not messing with this guy. Anyways.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he is a nice guy. Very nice guy, very positive, etc. right? You also have that other guy. You have also guy Nissim Black. He's also a guy like it's similar story.
Go on.
Yeah, he was a Strymel. He goes around with his Strymel. Like he rocks up in his concert. He's like wearing his Strymel.
Next week he has a concert in New York.
Look at Crown Heights. There you go. Yeah. Huh? That's a basketball player. Yeah. Anyways, good.
Wait a minute.
We're not getting into a discussion about all the famous black converts. Huh? Your uncle converted who? Ah, yeah. Good. Very nice.
Funny man.
Anyways, enough. Enough. So now people are gonna think I'm racist. I don't know what. Huh? Am I racist? I think everybody's racist. Honestly, I honestly think everybody's racist. I think that it's a challenge to try not to act upon your instinctual racism. That I think is a challenge. We should strive to fight our natural instinct of racism. I think it's natural that if somebody doesn't look like you, right, you automatically, have he's not you, so he's something else, right? I don't care what race the guy is. If he's Chinese, if he's black, he's I don't know, whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. The fact that you look at somebody and you can clearly see that guy has nothing to do with your ethnic gene pool makes you gives you a sense of distance. Now it's a challenge that humanity needs to see beyond that. We have to try to get over our natural racist instinct. That's what I believe. And I hate if I bursted anybody's bubble out there, but that's what I think the truth is, right? Anyways, yes.
I'm a rookie.
You're a rookie.
Meaning I'm just brand new in a way, right? To Mishnah Gemara.
Yeah.
So could someone challenge a Tanoim who's a respected guy who you think is going to be flawless, right, in a way, without having a justifiable reason, meaning you can't just come along and challenge someone unless you say, okay, it's out of order or he misinterpreted.
So the general rule is that if you're anybody after the Tanaic era that would challenge a Tanaic authority that itself is a major flaw. That itself is a major flaw.
The fact that someone would challenge him?
Yeah. Now again, there was many people that said maybe there was a different version, which in other words, maybe the Tanaic authority didn't really say that, or maybe he didn't really mean that. But you cannot say that he's wrong. Why? Because it is kind of like an accepted reality in the Jewish people that the Tanaic era they worked very hard, and anybody that was a recognized Tanaic sage, they were checked. They checked the balances. They were.
But there were grounds on occasion that you could challenge it to Noyim that somehow.
Not after the Tanaic era. No, the grounds of challenging it would be sometimes if there was two Tanaic sages that argued with each other, we chose which one to follow.
Oh, that's.
Right. You have to also realize you had millions of people that studied the Talmud or the Torah in the time of the Mishnah. And they all criticized these Tanaim if they felt it was worthy of criticism.
Did you say millions?
Millions.
Who? The Jewish.
Yeah, there was a lot of Jews.
Okay.
What are you reading to my computer for? It's my computer. Get away from me.
See the commentary.
He wants to read all the stupid comments that some people wrote. I'm not saying that all the comments are stupid. He wants to only read the stupid ones. And then complain that the guy's reading stupid comments.
Entertainment.
Why don't you read the smart comments? There's some smart comments out there. I don't know which ones you're talking about. But, I'm assuming there's some smart ones there. Most of the ones I'm reading are
a piece of paper and you pick
just
a hole,
wasting.
You make a hole in the paper. What are you going to look at, the paper or the hole?
I don't know. Good. Anyways.
Okay. Really stupid. Thank you for.
Yes, today is Wednesday. We finished the quota. We discussed some very important Talmudic concepts, and I think if anybody has any questions, you can ask them. The people online, I want to remind you, we will answer questions online during the live chat if it is relevant to the topic we are talking about. If you want to ask me, I don't know why I didn't jump in the swimming pool this morning, you can try to figure that out yourself. Right? It's cold here. Look at this guy. Should show a picture. Could we show this guy here with it's how cold he is? Hold on.
You want to show the crowd?
No, I want to show this guy. It's so cold. Look at that. Look at that hat.
He's going hunting afterwards. We're hunting rabbits.
Okay. All right. What's that? Good. We're going to end the class. Everybody should go learn on their own. We will put on a link to our QR code so that you can join the WhatsApp group if you would like to. If you don't, you should at least subscribe, all that stuff. All right? Where's this thing? How do you put this thing
You're
on
actually
here?
paying attention to the
QR
scroll.
codes. Oh, look. Talmudic. Oops. Oh, no, here. There we go. There we go. Talmudic. If right there on the computer, you have a QR code. If you click it, you're in. Right? And how about there's a way of putting it on the thing as well? Put it on.
So my question was, do the viewers know you're paying it? Never mind.
Do the viewers know
Paying
what?
attention to the scroll, meaning that you are.
I don't pay attention to the scroll
didn't
all the
think you
time.
were.
Sometimes I read it. I look out for good questions.
Can you? That's what you can multitask like that.
I can multitask, yeah. Yeah, inside the description, you might find a QR code to our WhatsApp group. You can join it,
find
and
the
if you
link in the
join it,
description,
you
yeah.
are kept. We
Also,
try to
in chat
keep you.
on Twitch and YouTube, you can find the link. We
Good.
post it to the to Facebook.
Good. Anything else? Good. So let's leave it at that. Thank you for joining. Thank you guys for joining as well. And let's hit the books and learn inside and master this Talmudic passage. And tomorrow I'm going to be testing you because I want you to read the passage all by yourself.
You want out of here?
Yeah, out of here.
I think I can do that.
Good. Well, we're going to test you on it. Okay. Anything else? Any last chance? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? No. Good. So, I don't know these people writing this stuff. I don't know. You know, I tell people if you come to class, you should try to learn, not try to teach. You have a lot of people here that they want to tell you everything. You know, they think somebody actually cares what they have to say. If the people care what they have to say, they'll go to your video. Go make a video. If they want to hear what you have to say, they go to your video. And tell it to them. Tell them whatever you want to say. You come to my video and you want to tell everybody what you have to say. Okay. All right. Good. Have a good day. Bye.